In this video, I'll talk about modeling a gas of particles using Godot. Let's start with an example. Here the gas is represented by the small light blue beads, and you can see that the gas has enough pressure to keep the large red and blue balls up in the air and in balance, approximately. The particles are colliding with each other and are under stochastic temperature control to keep the gas as a whole close to a specific target temperature. In case you are wondering, the UI is from the development version of my game Kinetic Conundrum, so you're getting a sneak preview of what the next version is starting to look like. Let's lower the temperature from 500,000 degrees to 100,000 degrees and see what happens. Note that the temperature scale isn't in familiar units like Celsius or Fahrenheit or Kelvin. Instead, it's an arbitrary scale tied to the units of the game engine like velocity in pixels per second. We can see that the gas gets compressed under the weight of the two larger balls. Remember the ideal gas law. Volume is proportional to the temperature and inversely proportional to the pressure. In this case, the pressure is constant. It's whatever weight the two large balls are putting on the gas. So when we reduce the temperature, the gas settled into a new equilibrium with smaller volume. You can also see that our model of rigid spheres isn't actually an ideal gas. The gas becomes less and less compressible as the density grows, until it settles into this kind of hexagonal close-packed lattice. Let's try going in the other direction and crank up the temperature to 3 million degrees. The particles jostle for more space, the gas expands, and actually breaks out of the containment and starts filling up the entire area available. So how is the gas modeled? I used the Rapier physics engine and its Godot extension for rigid body collisions and basic kinetics. To implement the stochastic temperature control, I used two nodes, a parent node named gas and child nodes called beads that correspond to the gas particles. The beads are simple rigid bodies that can collide with walls, each other, and other objects in the gameplay. I made them relatively small so they can have more gas-like behavior of getting through narrow channels and crevices. However, the size is a compromise because if you make them too small, then they'll start looking like noise on the screen. The gas parent has the thermostat code. In this model, we are going for constant temperature, also known as canonical ensemble. The important physics fact is that velocities follow Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, which means that we can simulate the velocity profile by sampling from normal distribution. We first randomize the particle velocities so that the gas is close to the target temperature to start with. Then, throughout the game iterations, we apply the thermostat. We use what's called Andersen thermostat, where we pick a particle at random and replace its x and y velocity components with velocities drawn from normal distribution. In each iteration, a specific fraction of particles get their velocities updated. There's certain finesse in choosing the optimal update rate. If the update rate is too low, the gas has a tendency to cool off by losing energy to inelastic collisions or to pushing other objects. But if it's too high, then you get a lot of random lurching motions that don't look realistic. I'll mention a couple of other best practices. You should keep the gas dense enough. For a realistic looking gas, most of the thermal equilibration should come from the particle collisions, with the thermostat only providing gentle corrections. Also, you shouldn't overheat the system. I confess that I've been breaking the rules of the physics engine a bit, because you're not supposed to update the velocities outside the engine's internal loop. Now, if the particles get jolted too hard, they can break the physics processing and lead to artifacts like missed wall collisions. Let's check out some other ways to use the gas as a game element. You can create a piston mechanism to power a chain-and-pulley system. You can build a rotary pump to move the gas along pipes and create pressure to move objects. Or by combining one-way gates and triggers with a pressurized gas container, you can create an air cannon mechanism. Thank you for watching. Check out my projects at rastala-games.itch.io, link in the description, and subscribe to the channel to get updates.